Alone at midnight, the haunting truth of waiting in line will shock you forever. The clock ticked ominously as Emily stood outside the old movie theater. Midnight crept over the city, wrapping its dark fingers around the empty streets. She was the only one in line, or so she thought. The flickering neon lights above buzzed erratically, a soundtrack to her growing unease. A sudden chill swept through the air, sending goosebumps racing down her arms. It felt wrong being here alone, waiting for a film that promised more than just scares. Suddenly, she noticed something unusual. The shadows along the theater's cracked walls seemed to shift, whispering secrets that felt alive. Were they beckoning her closer? Her heart slammed against her chest, pounding like tribal drums in the dead of night. She could have sworn she saw eyes lurking within the darkness, glimmering just out of sight. The fear curled in her stomach, tightening like a vice. Then she heard a low growl, almost imperceptible at first. It sent a jolt through her. She looked around, hoping it was just a stray animal. But the street was silent, even the wind held its breath. Was someone else there, hidden in the shadows? Or was it something else entirely? The thought made the hairs on the back of her neck stand on end. Her mind raced. Why was she even here? Solo horror movies were supposed to be fun, not this cold slice of dread creeping in. Just then, out of the corner of her eye, she spotted movement. A figure, cloaked in darkness, seemed to materialize just beyond the reach of the flickering bulbs. Emily's instinct screamed for her to run, but the figure didn't move. It simply stood there, waiting just like her. But for what? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The figure shifted again, almost gliding over the pavement, while Emily's breath quickened. Was it watching her? Everything inside her screamed to leave, but her feet felt glued to the concrete, the thrill mingling with terror. What did this all mean? Was she part of an unfolding horror story or just losing her mind? As her heart raced with uncertainty, she dared to step a little closer, drawn by curiosity and horror intertwined. With each passing moment, the tension thickened in the air, swirling like fog. Whatever haunted this place was ready to reveal itself, to unravel the mysteries locked within. Would Emily uncover the truth, or would she become yet another story lost to the shadows? She felt the cold touch of dread wrap around her, tightening. What was hiding just beyond the light? Would she find the answers, or something much worse? A shiver ran down Emily's spine as she took a hesitant step towards the figure. Her instincts churned, a rebellion in her gut, but the dark silhouette seemed to call to her. Pulsing energy thrummed in the air, and the shadows danced restlessly at the edges of her vision. It felt like stepping into a tunnel where every heartbeat echoed louder than the last. "Who's there?" she called, her voice wavering. It cut through the thick night, but the figure remained silent. Emily's throat tightened, hunger for answers battling with the fear creeping up her spine. Was it a person? Or something more sinister? The stillness deepened, hanging heavy between them. Beside the silence, another sound surfaced, a low, rasping breath, like the final gasp of a dying man. She froze, every hair on her body standing on end. The figure's head seemed to tilt ever so slightly, shadows cloaking its face. "Help me!" The voice was barely a whisper, almost lost in the night. Emily's heart quickened, but she wanted desperately to believe it was just a trick of her imagination, a remnant of the horror flick she'd watched earlier. She hesitated, taking another step. "What do you need?" The question hung in the air like an unlit firework. In that moment, the figure lurched forward, the darkness around it swirling. Emily recoiled like she'd touched a hot stove. Panic surged through her. She turned, ready to flee, but just then, the neon lights flickered violently, illuminating a flash of the figure's face, shocked, desperate, and familiar? Emily squinted, the features flashing before her memory like a faulty projector. Cassie? The name slipped from her lips before she fully processed it. Her former friend, lost to time and distance, stared back at her through the shadows. But something was off. Cassie's eyes reflected a vacant emptiness, the light in them snuffed out like a dying star. What happened to you? Emily whispered, the terror gripping her heart. Find the truth, Emily. Before it's too late. The words echoed, hollow as they reached her ears. The figure staggered backward, absorbed again by the darkness, and the growl returned, louder this time, as if angered by the interruption. Was she here to rescue Cassie, or was this a warning? Emily's mind raced as she searched for answers, frantically weighing the loss she felt against the rising dread surrounding her. Her heart thudded, ripping her from her thoughts. Without warning, the theater's doors creaked open, spilling dim light onto the pavement. A flicker of hope ignited within her. Was this the escape she needed? Or would it plunge her deeper into the shadows? She took a breath, fighting the urge to turn away. If Cassie was calling her to action, then there was no time to waste. Gathering her courage, Emily stepped towards the doorway, not knowing what awaited her inside. But a chill swept through the air again, and a sudden whisper slid eerily through the night. You can't escape the past. Emily, as she crossed the threshold, the door slammed shut behind her, echoing like a death knell. The darkness inside pulsed, alive with unseen beings and unspoken threats. Would she discover buried truths, or would she uncover horrors she was never meant to see? The words hung in the air, wondering if she was the next story to be lost to this dreadful midnight. Desperation clung to her as she clutched her heart. What waited for her in that darkness? Emily stood frozen in the dim light of the theater, her breath hitching as the darkness closed in around her. The air felt thick, almost suffocating, alive with whispers and distant echoes that tugged at her consciousness. Every instinct screamed at her to turn around, to run back into the safety of the night beyond those heavy doors. Yet there was Cassie, or what was left of her, trapped in some twisted reality, calling for help. Find the truth, the words still echoed in her mind. What truth? Was it Cassie's truth? Or something far darker? Heart pounding, Emily stepped forward. The carpet beneath her feet was damp and cold, squelching with each hesitant movement. Shadows flickered along the walls like fleeting memories, grotesque and haunting. The fleeting rays from the neon lights outside barely pierced the gloom of the theater, casting distorted shapes that seemed to shift and writhed out. A loud crash echoed from the back of the auditorium, shattering the silence like glass. Emily's heart leapt into her throat. Hello? She called out, her voice stronger, though doubt crept in, twisting her stomach. No immediate reply. Just the creaking of old wood and the low hum of electricity. Desperate to divert her fear, she focused on the stage ahead. Was it possible to discover the truth if she remained stuck in this half-lit void, paralyzed by dread? Suddenly, the growling returned, deeper this time, a promising harbinger of dread. It surrounded her, vibrating through the air, making her skin crawl. Her mind raced with questions. What had happened to Cassie? Why had she needed help? And what had Emily walked into? Glancing towards the stage, she took a deep breath, summoning courage she didn't know she had. A faint light flickered at the edge of the stage, a small lantern, swinging like a pendulum, illuminating a makeshift table cluttered with what appeared to be old photographs and letters. Curiosity won over fear. She approached it slowly, each step weighted with uncertainty. As she reached the table, she saw a framed photo. It was her and Cassie, back in high school, arms slung around each other, faces bright with laughter, a snapshot of a time that felt worlds away. But what caught her eye next made her blood run cold. The photo was ripped at the edges, and scribbled in dark ink across it were the words, "It was always her." Her chest tightened, and she felt a surge of anger and confusion. What does that mean? She muttered to herself, then something shifted behind her. Instinctively, Emily turned, but nothing was there. The air felt heavier, thick with an unseen weight. The whispers grew louder, indistinct voices weaving an accusatory tale, swirling around her like a storm. Find the truth before it's too late. Cassie's voice echoed in harmony with the others, intertwining, enveloping Emily in a dense web of confusion and despair. An old projector clicked to life on its own accord, casting shadows from the past onto the screen above the stage. Images flickered rapidly, fractured memories of laughter and friendship, but also of darker moments, betrayal etched into faces and scenes that chipped away at Emily's heart. Each frame pulled her deeper into a murky reality that she was desperate to escape. No! She cried out, collapsing against the table, overwhelmed by a wave of nausea and rage. This isn't how it ends. But the images continued relentless. The growl grew more agitated, as if the theater itself was a living beast, hungry for secrets buried deep within it. Emily could sense she was drawing near to something horrific, something she might not be ready to confront. And just then, a loud thud reverberated through the building, causing the lights to flicker violently. Emily's heart raced as she caught sight of a shadowy figure emerging from the gloom. Emily, it rasped, voice barely a whisper over the din. Her pulse quickened in fear. Was it Cassie? Or something altogether worse? The darkness thickened, and as Emily's mind spiraled into chaos, she realized she stood on the brink of her worst nightmare. Would she find Cassie again or unleash the horror that had been locked away? Before she could gather her thoughts, the figure lunged, the world around her fading into an abyss. What horrors awaited her next could be more than she bargained for. Emily stumbled backward, feeling the cold, hard edge of the table bite into her spine. Her breath hitched as the figure lunged, the darkness swirling around them like a living thing. It felt alive, hungry for her fear, suffocating. The flickering lantern cast erratic shadows, giving the illusion that the figure was grappling with itself, a grotesque dance that stole her breath. Emily, it rasped again, the voice disintegrating into a low whisper that scraped against her nerves. Stop! She screamed, her heart racing, a drumbeat of raw terror in her ears. She blinked, praying to see Cassie's familiar face, but what loomed before her was obscured by shadows. It was as if time and space twisted around them, and she felt the very air shimmer. Suddenly, the figure stopped, its posture shifting to something almost familiar. You have to find it, Emily. You have to find the truth. Cassie? The name slipped from her lips like a desperate plea. Is that you? Yes and no. The figure flickered, the darkness bending around it, morphing into flashes of memories she could barely grasp. She could see her and Cassie laughing, running through summer fields, their faces sun-kissed and alive. But the laughter faded, replaced by screams and tears. The images turned dark, morbid, as whispers coiled tighter around her mind. The wretched growl intensified, vibrating through the chill in the air. Suddenly, the projector behind her whirred again, throwing grotesque images on the screen. Each frame was more disturbing, showcasing scenes of betrayal and heartbreak. Emily could feel phantom hands clasping around her throat, choking her breath from her. Find the truth before it's too late. Leave me alone! She yelled, fists balled at her sides, rage colliding with fear. The figure lunged again, but this time, it stopped short, hovering inches from her face. You need to remember, it rasped, and Emily felt a spark of recognition flicker in the depths of her mind. There was something darker here, something she had suppressed, a secret etched in her memory, buried beneath layers of guilt and regret. No, I can't. Her voice trembled, but an inexplicable sense of urgency gripped her. The figure took a step back, revealing a hidden trapdoor underneath the table. It creaked open slowly, a sickening echo that sent shivers racing down her spine. You must go down. It's what you never wanted to face. Emily hesitated, pulse racing with terror, yet an undeniable pull urged her forward. She drew a deep breath, every nerve ending screaming for her to flee, but Cassie's voice, distorted yet resonant, broke through. Help me. Find the truth. She placed a tentative foot on the bottom rung of the ladder that led downward into the confines of darkness. Each step felt like betrayal. Would she find Cassie or face the part of herself she had tried to forget? As she descended, the darkness closed in, swallowing her whole. The smell of damp wood and decay filled her nostrils. Shadows danced on the walls, and the air grew colder, turning her breath into frosty puffs. The growls wove through her like an endless tapestry, and a pair of eyes glinted from the depths of the black hungry hollow, watching her with cold intent. "Who are you?" she whispered into the void, her voice sounding small and frail. There was a long pause, and then a laugh, slow, mocking. "You'll see soon enough," it replied, dripping with malice. Emily's heart sank. Would she truly unravel this twisted fate? Would she have the courage to face her own darkest truths? As the light from above faded, and the abyss enveloped her, she realized she was no longer just chasing Cassie's fate. She was walking right into her own. What lay at the bottom, hidden in the shadows, could change everything or take it all away. The ground trembled beneath her feet. What had she unleashed? Who would emerge from the dark? Emily's heartbeat thundered in her ears, the pulse an echoing reminder of her vulnerability. The trapdoor creaked shut above her, sealing her in a tomb of darkness, where the only sound was the distant growling that groveled in the shadows. She squinted into the void, straining to see, but the darkness was almost tangible, curling around her like anxious fingers. The chill crawled over her skin, a relentless reminder that she was not alone. Each breath felt heavier, weighted by an unspeakable dread. Her mind raced. Thoughts jumbled together like frantic passengers trying to escape a sinking ship. She had to remember. It was imperative she unearthed that hidden truth. What secrets had she buried? What had she lost in the dark, in the depths, beneath layers of fear? A flicker of determination ignited. "I can do this," she murmured, her voice barely a whisper, swallowed by the void. As her eyes adjusted, shapes began to materialize in the gloom. Old crates, rotting timber, items she couldn't quite identify, remnants of the past. The air grew stagnant, thickening with unspoken words and promises that hung unfulfilled. A low whisper danced just beyond her grasp, taunting, beckoning her deeper. "Step forward, Emily, it's waiting for you," the voice slithered, twisting her name into something unrecognizable. Something at the edge of her vision moved, and she spun around, heart racing. The eyes that had been watching her were gone, but she sensed their lingering presence like a shadow. She couldn't afford to break down. Fear threatened to claw her apart, but she knew she had to keep moving. Gritting her teeth, Emily stepped forward into the dark, the floor beneath her feet creaking like old bones. Just then, the lantern she had brought flickered back to life, a solitary light cutting through the gloom. The glow sparked hope, illuminating a path just ahead. Her surroundings shifted, transforming the tight confines into a narrow corridor. The walls were lined with photographs, blurry, distorted images of laughter, tears, and familiar faces stretched into grotesque shapes. Emily's breath caught as she recognized them, her family, friends, people she hadn't thought about in years. Moments disconnected from her life, memories frayed and tangled. "Cassie!" she shouted, searching the faces for some sign of her best friend. The photos twitched, as if responding, and the shadows around them seemed to draw closer, blending into the memories pinned to the walls. "Find the truth, Emily," the chilling rasp reverberated in the stillness. "Only then will you unearth Cassie's secret." Emily's fists were clenched so tightly it hurt. "What do you want from me?" she yelled, desperation echoing down the corridor. "Not what, who?" The voice darkened, layered with malice as if 1,000 whispers combined. Suddenly, a figure stepped from the shadows, blending in yet unmistakable. It was a girl, young, her features contorted with anguish. Emily gasped, recognizing the haunted look in her eyes. It was her younger self, a version of her she had locked away. "Emily! You have to listen!" The girl's voice was strained, trembling between the thin veneer of their shared memories. "Please tell me. What happened?" Emily's heart thudded painfully against her ribcage. "The truth will destroy you," her younger self warned, tears streaming down her face. "You can't hide from it." Before Emily could respond, the ground beneath her quaked again, knocking her off balance. The corridor twisted, the walls stretching and pulling like an angry beast waking from slumber. "What did I unleash?" she gasped, struggling to stay on her feet. The darkness deepened, and the growling intensified, like a thunderous roar embracing the crypt that had become her prison. Drawing breath, she steadied herself, eyes darting toward the trembling figure. "What do I need to do?" "No more running, Emily!" The shout echoed through the corridor as the shadows surged forward, enveloping her in a black blanket of despair. The flickering lantern dimmed, leaving Emily encased in darkness again. A whisper brushed against her ear. "The moment has come, face it." With the last embers of light gone, she stood alone, teetering on the precipice of truth. This wasn't just about Cassie anymore. It was about everything she had buried, what awaited her in the abyss. And would the answers she sought bring salvation or destruction? Emily stumbled backward, the tremors underfoot relentless as shadows twisted and crept toward her. The air thickened, clawing at her throat, while the growls rose to a cacophony, a symphony of terror echoing in her ears. All at once, her strength felt like a fading whisper, almost swallowed by the menacing darkness that encircled her. "Can't run, can't hide," the figures murmured, their voices a swirling tempest around her, slicing through her resolve like a knife. "Shut up!" Emily screamed, her voice shattering against the oppressive silence. But the echoes of her words fizzled out, drowned by the hungry shadows. She turned, searching for a way out, desperately willing the memories that surrounded her to offer direction. Every grainy photograph seemed to mock her, each visage pulling her into a past that had become a tapestry of regrets. At their core lay Cassie, the loyal friend, the one she had left behind. "Why did you abandon me?" Cassie's voice rose from the haunting portraits, reverberating with a mix of sorrow and anger. "I didn't mean to!" Emily shouted, tears welling as a spotlight of guilt illuminated her heart. "I thought I was protecting you." Protection turned to suffocation. The shadow version of Cassie shrieked, and Emily staggered, every word a punch to her gut. "You can't bury what you fear, Emily, it festers and grows." Suddenly, a rush of wind roared through the corridor, flickering the lantern back to life, but only momentarily. In that dim glow, Emily saw her younger self pressed against the wall, pleading with wide, tear-filled eyes. "Remember what happened. It's the only way." With every pulse a beating light, the walls reverberated with the weight of memories. Emily felt a knot in her stomach turn sharply. She scrambled for the fragments of that night, the night that had changed everything. Her breath quickened. Was it the darkness playing tricks or the specters of her past urging her? "No!" she cried, pushing through the encroaching shadows that rippled around her. "Tell me the truth. I can't go on like this." As if in response, the corridors shook violently, and the twisted faces in the photographs began to morph into monstrous grins, their laughter echoing gleefully. It clawed at her resolve, each chuckle a reminder of her burdens. "Face it. Face the truth," they chorused, their serrated voices in unison, hammering into her brain like an iron drum. Emily squared her shoulders, forcing herself to breathe, though each inhale felt like dragging in icy shards. For Cassie, for the girl who had been lost, she had to dig deeper. "Just tell me what I need to know." The room dimmed once more, shadows gathering into a focal point in the center of the corridor. Energy crackled as surroundings shifted. In a blinding moment of clarity, Emily recognized the vibe, the familiar energy leading her, a spectral hand gripping tight to guide her toward confrontation. "Let me see," she demanded, the fiery need to understand bursting from her chest like a wildfire. The air throbbed with power, and for the first time, the darkness retreated. The images shifted, rearranging themselves as if an unseen hand rewrote reality. Suddenly, vivid recollections barred into her consciousness, flooding her with the truths she had so stubbornly refused to confront. Pulses quickened, the weight of both horror and salvation looming ahead. But just as clarity began to emerge, the ground rumbled again, and the shadows lunged, swallowing her in a fresh wave of terror. "Let me go!" she screamed, but only silence replied. What had she unleashed? With dread pooling in her stomach, she faced the encroaching darkness, ready or not. This moment of awakening promised salvation, yet delivered such peril. Would the truth crack her open, or would it push her deeper into nightmares? In the silence that followed, she heard a soft sound, like a soft whisper beneath the roar of chaos. It's the only way to save her. Her heart raced. What if confronting the truth cost her everything she knew? The shadows pressed closer, vibrating with an energy that pulsed like a heartbeat. Emily felt every inch of her skin crawl as their cold whispers wrapped around her, stealing the warmth of her breath. She closed her eyes for a moment, but that only deepened the panic surging through her veins. She needed to see, to face the images swirling in her mind. Cassie, she murmured, her voice trembling. If it was the truth she sought, then it was her friend she needed to embrace, to acknowledge the choices that led them both here. Yet, as soon as she thought of Cassie, the voices grew louder, drowning her talents for reason. Why did you choose yourself? They taunted, carving through her defenses. You left her alone and now it's your fault. Emily's chest tightened, her breath shallow and frantic. No! This isn't how it happened! But something deep within her felt the weight of guilt, pressing heavily like chains. The shadows bounced around her, dancing in chaotic ecstasy. She remembered that night, the whispers, the secrets. They had made a pact once, proclaiming invulnerability in each other's presence. But it had all slipped away like grains of sand. Shaking off the memories that threatened to collapse her, she surged forward. Show me. Show me what really happened. The command echoed into the void, trembling yet resolute. Instantly, the darkness parted, revealing a flickering memory. Emily stood once again in the dim light of that fateful basement. Capsized bottles, angry voices, the air thick with despair. And there was Cassie, her face betraying fear. But then a shift. Emily watched as she felt a stab of betrayal. You promised! Cassie had begged. She had begged Emily not to walk away, not to shut the door when things got hard. Just tell them I'm fine, Cassie had pleaded, her hands clenching, eyes wide with panic. In that moment, every fragment of loyalty shattered, and the truth stood naked before her. I didn't want to get involved. I thought it would keep you safe. The shadow spat back, anger laced with mocking laughter. You ran away, Emily. Fingers trembling, she reached for the memories unraveling in front of her. I didn't mean it like that. I was scared. I thought she would be okay. The mocking grew louder, flooding her head with chaos. You buried your head in the sand like a coward. The shame turned to rage. It boiled inside her, fiery and searing. No more. I refuse to be the villain here. With sudden defiance, Emily twisted her body, facing the relentless advancing darkness. It won't win. I need to reclaim this. Each word ignited a power she hadn't known existed. The shadows stuttered momentarily, caught off guard by her resolution. The walls began to shake, fissures spiderwebbing across the room. The familiar whispers transformed, morphing into anguished shrieks. Face your demons, Emily. We are you. They howled, anxiety thickening the air. The vibrations rattled through her as pieces of the past crashed against her consciousness. Emily's heart raced painfully as the names flooded back. Repercussions, choices, alliances that had crumbled. But is this how it ends? She gasped, desperation clawing at her throat. Look close, a voice whispered, softer now. You can still save her if you're willing to look beyond your fears. The ground trembled beneath her, and cracks spread like lightning, a bright light flaring from the fractures. Could she step into the light and emerge whole? Or would her fears pull her back down into the abyss she had tried to keep chained? With a deep breath and a heart full of purpose, Emily plunged forward, ready to confront whatever awaited on the other side. As the light surrounded her, she felt a mix of dread and hope, and for the first time, clarity. But just before she could grasp it, darkness swept in again. What if that truth was darker than anything she could have ever imagined? As the shadows gathered around her, a question hung in the air: would Emily choose to dive into the unknown depths or retreat back into fear? The light engulfed her, blinding and humbling. It wrapped around Emily like a comforting shawl, yet within its embrace lay uncertain shadows waiting to lash out. She felt weightless, suspended between her past and an uncertain future. Her pulse quickened not just with fear, but with the fierce determination that simmered just below the surface. Show me the truth, she whispered, the words an incantation. And then silence. As if the world held its breath, the light flickered, and the shadows retreated, whispering in hushed tones. She squinted through the dazzling brightness, desperately seeking something, anything that could guide her toward clarity. Suddenly, the scene shifted. Emily found herself in a hospital room, sterile and cold. She shuddered, recognizing that place from the corner of her mind. The beeping machines and hushed conversations pierced her heart. Lying in the bed was Cassie, pale and fragile, a slight figure surrounded by tubes and flickering lights. Emily's breath hitched in her throat. "No, no, no, no!" she cried. She had tried so hard to banish this memory. It was a nightmare she never wanted to relive, but there it was, stark and visceral, surprisingly real. Cassie's eyes fluttered open, struggling to focus. "Emily, you came," she whispered, her voice weak but laced with hope. "I should have been here. I'm so sorry." Emily choked out, the truth unraveling her. "I never should have left you." Cassie blinked, a soft smile breaking through the fear. "I wasn't alone, not really." But Emily caught the hint of doubt, a flicker of resentment buried beneath her friend's trust. The shadows stirred, creeping back into her vision. The whispers became frantic, twisting the truths she thought she understood. "Do you see the lie in her words?" they hissed. "She is trying to forgive a sin you can't escape." "No! I didn't mean for this to happen," Emily protested. She turned back to Cassie, her heart aching. "I need you to." Suddenly, the room around them morphed again, tossing her like a rag doll in a tempest of memories. She was thrown into the dark depths of their past, the late-night arguments, the secrets kept, the moments of selfishness that had left Cassie wandering through the storm all alone. Each flash hit her like a physical blow. She could almost taste the coppery sting of regret. "You thought letting go would save you both," the shadows taunted. "Look where that got you." "No!" she screamed at them. "This isn't justice. You're here to punish me for trying to survive." The intensity bubbled over, spilling like boiling water. Empowered by anger, Emily pushed back, fighting against the despair that threatened to pull her under. The energy swirling around her morphed into something raw and chaotic. She saw another memory emerge, the night of the pact, the firelight dancing in their eyes as they promised to always protect each other. "Change the story," a voice urged, deep and resonant. "Rewrite your fate." Emily inhaled deeply, drawing on long-buried strength. "I want to live in shame. I will not let fear dictate my choices again." The shadows shrieked, furious at her rising defiance, but Emily surged forward, lunging into the familiar warmth of her memories. She clung to the friendship that had once united them, taking it as a shield against the darkness swirling around her. Light burst forth from within, a supernova of hope. It shattered the whispers, dispelling fear. The memories began stitching themselves back together, a tapestry of love and resilience. Just as clarity started to emerge, the whispers screamed one final warning: "You can't escape what lies at the core." As the brightness swallowed her whole, Emily understood that she was at the precipice of an incredible revelation. But would it shatter her or set her free? What waited beyond the light? What harbored deeper regrets and darker secrets? With a heart racing, she plunged forward once more. This time she would find what it truly meant to fight for the truth, even if it might mean losing everything she thought she knew. The light expanded, but in the distance, shadows loomed with their secrets still intact. Would she be able to embrace them, or would they drag her down once again? As her mind surged with questions, all she could do was brace for the impact. Emily felt herself plunge into nothingness, the light a swirling vortex around her, bright yet disorienting. She grappled for footholds in the whirlwind of memories, which morphed into grotesque shapes that taunted her. A sickening dread washed over her as she saw glimpses of her life flashing before her eyes, faded photographs and haunted faces, the good, the bad, all now skewed through a prism of guilt. She landed hard, stumbling onto a cracked pavement under a shadowy sky. The air was thick with tension, every breath feeling like an intrusion. Around her, figures stood half-shrouded in darkness, their faces obscured but their murmurs clear. "She runs from what she has done," one voice whispered, cold and accusatory. No one ever really leaves, another added, the certainty echoed by the others nearby. Instinctively, Emily covered her ears, drowning in the chaos. Each accusation felt like a razor, cutting deeper as the realization dawned these were the remnants of her choices, the echoes of moments she silenced. Emily, a familiar voice pierced through the clamor, warm and inviting yet laced with an edge of sorrow. Turning, she faced Cassie, but something felt off. The vibrant girl she remembered had now a muted glow, her essence flickering like a dying flame. "Cassie, I'm here!" Emily cried, reaching out. But Cassie stepped back, the distance growing between them. "You weren't there when I needed you," she said, anguish clear in her voice. The shadows whispered over her words, weaving a web of uncertainty. "You left me, didn't you?" "No!" Emily's heart raced, confusion and despair swirling together. "I wanted to be there. I tried to save you." The shadows flared, slithering closer, wrapping around them both, blurring the lines between what was real and imagined. Each tendril seemed to pull at Emily's resolve. "She sacrificed herself," they hissed. "You failed her when she needed you most." "Stop!" Emily shouted, fighting against their suffocating presence. "This isn't true. I loved her." But the truth she clung to felt increasingly fragile, like glass on the verge of shattering. "Did you love enough?" Cassie challenged, her eyes flashing with an emotion Emily had only seen in her most desperate moments. "When was the last time you put me first?" Emily's mind raced back, dredging up memories of their best moments, but they were marred by guilt. She had been searching for herself, hadn't she? Seeking to escape the weight of the world that felt so heavy. And now, within this embrace of light and shadow, she felt the oppressive weight of her choices bearing down on her again, squeezing the air from her lungs. "Rewrite your fate," the deep voice echoed once more, cutting through the despair with a crystalline clarity. Emily took a trembling breath, her foundation shivering but firming beneath her resolve. "I can't change what happened," she said, her voice reflective yet powerful. "But I owe it to Cassie to seek the truth." Suddenly, the shadows recoiled, hissed like a swarm of angry insects. "Do you think knowing will set you free?" They screeched, terror-laden, and she could feel the energy shift. "I think knowing will give me the strength to fight," Emily declared, and with that declaration, she felt the intensity of her will ignite. The ground trembled as the light surged, pushing back against the shadows, illuminating colorful threads weaving through the darkness. Emily shot her arm forward, embracing the light, allowing herself to be filled with its warmth, the fiery hope that had always been a flicker within her heart. Something deep inside, raw and untapped, flared to life. "I will not run!" she roared, pushing against the darkness, feeling it peel away from her soul. But just as she thought she could escape this torment, a chilling voice echoed from the depths. "You haven't seen the truth yet, Emily. What you're about to find may change everything." And as she braced herself for the unknown, a shadow loomed behind her, whispering secrets only her heart could truly fathom. Would she have the courage to face it? Or would the weight of unseen truths drag her back into the depths of despair? Emily stood in the center of swirling shadows, the air thick with tension and fear. Her heart thundered in her chest as the echoes of the past collided with her awareness. She could feel the shadows gathering around her, pulling her into a void of unpredictability. "You think you have the strength to rewrite fate?" they hissed, their voices intertwining like serpents around her. "I have to try," she shouted back, her voice fierce, though fear gnawed at her insides. Emily took a deep breath, glancing at the flickering light that surged from deep inside her. It felt like a lighthouse guiding her through treacherous waters. The shadows hissed and swirled, but she held firm, picturing Cassie's face, not the distracted, hurt girl lost in darkness, but the vibrant friend she had fought for in bright summer days. "I can't let those memories be twisted anymore," she screamed, stepping forward with resolve deeper than anything she'd felt before. With the strength of her heart behind her, the light expanded, piercing the gloom. The shadows shrieked, momentarily slackening their grip, enabling her to glimpse the truth behind their wrath. It wasn't evil lurking in the dark, but anguish and regret, reflections of her own failures. In an instant, she plunged into the heart of the shadows. The darkness twisted and warped, and suddenly, she found herself reliving a memory, a moment she buried so deeply it barely existed in the surface of her mind. It was a school hallway, bustling with life, and there was Cassie laughing, vibrant, and there all at once. The sun poured through the windows, making her glow. Then everything shifted. Emily could feel the dread creeping in, the whispers creeping forward. "You can't be true friends if you abandon each other," the chilling words echoed from every corner. In one swift motion, darkness twisted what was bright into a chaotic scene where Cassie stood alone, void of light. No! This wasn't how the story had to go. I was scared. I was so caught up in my own fears, Emily shouted, as the shadows lunged back. "Your fears don't matter anymore. Face what lies beneath," they hissed, pushing Emily closer to her tears. A wave of sorrow surged through her heart, but she swallowed hard, anchoring her thoughts. "I want to run, I want to hide," she declared, knowing this was her moment. She took steady steps forward, allowing the memories to play out. Emily fought against the rising tide of despair. The scene shifted again, and she felt the air grow cold, the darkness swirling as Cassie's voice filled the void. "Why, Emily? You left me. I needed you." Cassie's whisper sliced her right through, and Emily felt her heart crack under the pressure. "I thought I was saving you." Tears streamed down her face, and suddenly she knew fear never saves, it only restricts. "Face it. You saved your heart, but you let me drown." Cassie's voice erupted like a starburst of anguish, and in that moment, the memories gripped Emily tighter. There were the school dances, laughter shared and plans made, but there, too, were the fights, the misunderstandings, the moments of doubt piled high like discarded dreams. Each scene flashed before her eyes as guilt clawed at her mind. "I wanted to protect you," she faltered, but the shadows pressed on. "You thought you protected yourself. What about the times you left me behind?" Emily's legs felt heavy, and she dropped to her knees, overwhelmed. "What do I need to do?" she cried out, desperation washing over her. Suddenly, a radiant warmth washed over her, a light breaking through the suffocating darkness. Through the cracks of despair, a figure emerged, Cassie, illuminated, filled with courage. "Face the truth," she echoed, her voice powerful. Emily's heart swelled with determination. "I see it clearly now. I see what I've done, what I've failed to see." She could feel the pulse of their friendship igniting within her, powerful and poignant. "Stand tall," Cassie urged, the audience of shadows shrinking back. "You've forgotten what it means to fight for love. You can change the narrative." With every ounce of strength she possessed, Emily rose. Back to her feet. "I will not let shadows define us. I will reclaim our story." The light blared from her heart, and the shadows recoiled, furious, but Emily pressed on, embracing the warmth. With blazing determination, she swept it outward, illuminating the darkness, revealing all the lost moments. The fog of terror began to lift, and suddenly she felt unshackled, her soul soaring free. Then, with one final flourish, she thrust the light forward, scattering the remaining shadows like leaves in the wind. The scream of anguish burst from the shadows, retreating to the recesses of her mind. In place of fear, clarity washed over her, cradling her heart. Standing amidst the remnants of her past, the darkness slipped away, and Emily found Cassie standing beside her, whole, vibrant, filled with light. "I'm here," Cassie said, and their hands found each other, binding them in shared truth. Maybe they would never be perfect, but they would always fight for each other going forward. They had buried so much under fear, but it would no longer dictate their future. "We'll create a better story," Emily whispered, a tear rolling down her face, and a faint smile of hope curled on Cassie's lips. As the scene faded, Emily's heart lightened, releasing the weight she held for so long. She felt her spirit lift, stronger, unwavering, waiting for the next chapter, illuminated by hope and friendship, bathed in the light of truth. And with one last look back, Emily knew that she didn't just find Cassie. She found herself again. You need to subscribe now, so don't wait even one more second. Hit that red button and make sure you're part of our incredible journey into the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and support the channel like never before. Your excitement fuels our passion, and flood the comments section with your thoughts, reactions, whatever theories about this ending. I want to know how you felt about it. Don't forget to instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to experience this conclusion. They will thank you for it, trust me. Show your love and support for the channel, friends.